welcome to Ravenheart Rendition Shop Time. And today we're talking with Kari Hultman. Hi, Kari.
Hi, Andrew. How are you doing?
Doing good. Actually, melting with the heat the way it is right now.
It's terrible. I know. We just put the AC unit in my shop the other day, and thank heavens, because it's unbearable. It's hot everywhere except for the state of Washington, apparently. So
Well,
I'm ready to take a vacation there.
they could share at any time. This is getting a little ridiculous. I am so happy I have an air-conditioned shop.
I know it would be unbearable. I don't know how what people did before air conditioning. I don't know how they were able to stand it. I guess you get used to it, but
The heat that it is right now, I don't know how you get used to that one.
I'm a creature of comfort. I'm gonna take my AC unit.
Yep. My rule of if it makes me sweat, I would use a power tool. Well, that means I just have to stand there and I'd have to use a power tool.
Exactly.
So you said you got air conditioning in, and you're obviously not in the state of Washington, where it's the only cool place in the nation. So where is Cary located?
I'm in Lemoyne, Pennsylvania, which is right across the river from Harrisburg, which is the state's capital.
Mhm.
So I'm in south central Pennsylvania, surrounded by farmlands and Amish and cows and trees, and I love it. So I'm very happy here. Lots of history, and that's what I like, and lots of Pennsylvania cherry. So um,
Ooh,
I'm I'm never leaving. I'm never leaving this state.
I don't blame you out there. Wow. Okay, now that we got the technical stuff out of the way, what so I was wondering, since you're over in Pennsylvania, did you get any of the local cherry from any of the locals around there, or is it still got to go to the lumberyard?
I have some leads on some Amish people who are selling some really nice cherry, so I'm hoping to connect with them. And I have lots of feelers out there looking for some good cherry. But other than that, I have really good lumber yards close by. Groff's Lumber is only about an hour drive, as is Hearn Hardwoods. And so, I mean, they have great Pennsylvania cherry, so I can get it from there. You can also go to farm auctions around here and get cherry for like dirt cheap. And then I have another guy who whose father cuts down his own trees and then he mills them, and I've gotten cherry from him for $1.50 a board foot.
Oh,
So yeah, I know. Don't hate me. I'm very lucky. So yeah, it's very plentiful. I'm very fortunate. So
the best we found around here was my ends up my two of my neighbors are also woodworkers. We didn't even know about it, and we found a guy that was just getting rid of wood, and he had oak, cherry, maple, butternut. There's a bunch of other ash, cedar. No matter what it was, dollar a board foot.
oh,
I
nice.
I could barely drive my truck. It was so loaded down.
Why can't those things happen to me? That's really nice. Oh boy. Have you worked with butternut before? I'd really like to try that.
Yes, but it's a softer wood, but it's just beautiful when we ended up cutting it, remilling it on an angle a little bit because it was we wanted it rift cut and we wanted
Uh-huh.
certain stuff quarter sawn, so we ended up remilling it because we got it. It was like 2 inches thick and we could do a lot of stuff
Wow.
with it. And the different ways that you can cut it brings out these different colors in the grain, and it's just beautiful wood.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
I heard it carves really well.
And
So,
that it does. I have very minimal carving that I do so far. I'm learning, but what I have done, butternut does carve really nice.
oh, nice.
So, well, speaking of carving and different ways of doing things, so what kind of woodworking do you do mainly?
I build furniture and also hand tools. Those are my main things. Right now, I'm into reproduction Pennsylvania German furniture, and it's probably influenced by the area in which I live. I'm so close to where the Pennsylvania Germans are, and there's so much history here in Pennsylvania. So I have a lot of opportunity to see these pieces one on one. And so I'm very, very interested in that. And then as far as hand tools, I've made a number of hand planes, including the blades, and I'd like to try making some more like high-end hand tools that involve carving, like sort of reproduction, what you see in the 17th century, the fancy things that were being made in Europe, and just see where that goes. So, but right now I'm building a pergola for my house, and then I have to build a new shop door because mine fell off. So that's next on the list. But then, yeah, after that, probably get into the hand tools, and then recently I met with the folks at the Ephrata Cloister, which is a museum nearby, and I'm going to be making some reproduction pieces for them to sell in their museum store. So that involves some chip carving, which is really fun and has a like a folk art type feel to it,
Hmm.
and so a lot of variety. I like to do lots of different things, as just like many woodworkers, and we usually have 5 projects going on at the same time. I'm sure you can relate to
Oh,
that.
oh yeah.
So yeah, so that's what I have going on. Yeah.
Cool. And
Yeah.
then now a lot of the stuff you do a lot of hand tool work, right?
Yeah, I initially started out. I've been woodworking for about 20 years, and I'm primarily self-taught. Norm Abram taught me how to use power tools by watching the New Yankee workshop. And I started life as a power tool junkie, and then I decided to take a class on building a hand plane because sawdust makes me cough. That is the reason why I wanted to learn how to work with hand planes. So I took this class, and it was like a light bulb went off, and it was so much fun. And then I took another class after that from the same person on hand cut dovetails, and then I was hooked on hand tools. So ever since then, I've been reading about and working with hand tools and learning everything I can. And so that's where I am right now. I work probably about maybe 75% with hand tools. But as far as the heavy duty stuff, I still use my planer and my jointer and definitely my bandsaw. I don't use my table saw very much anymore, but my preference is using hand tools, but I'm not getting rid of my power tools anytime soon.
It seems that way for all of us. We get that bitten by that bug, and we have to have the saws and the planes, and there's something about it that just takes you back, and you connect so well with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
Well, there actually, if anybody wants to see any of the hand tools, along with quite a few other things that Carrie's done, the Village Carpenter is your website, and let's see if I can name off some of the other things. You have a YouTube channel for the Village Carpenter.
I do. Yeah, and I'd like to do some more videos with carving, letter carving, and we'll see what else. But definitely more letter carving videos. And I also have a Vimeo channel. I think if you just like do a search for Village Carpenter, you'll find me.
Hmm.
And then, of course, I'm on Facebook like all day long. So definitely find me there. Um,
And if I remember correctly, I just seen something on Facebook about a certain workbench on a specific page of Workbench of the Month.
my workbench, whose name is Greta. She's the new pinup girl for the month of July for Lake Erie Tool Works, which is where I bought the vice screw and hub and handle, the mechanisms that create the leg vise for my new bench. And you can submit pictures of your workbench if you incorporate one of his or vice screw assemblies. And he chose mine for the month of July. So Greta is the pinup girl for July.
Well,
And
I think that
yeah,
is well warranted. It is a very nice workbench.
it was really fun build. It took me 4 months of every single weekend and many many evenings, and it was pretty grueling. I had a deadline to meet because I was given a presentation in mid-April, and that's the whole reason I built the workbench was for this presentation. So I had to I had to finish. So like I finished it a week before the deadline. So it was right to the last minute. But I'm very happy. A friend of mine asked if I would change anything about the design, and I wouldn't. And it's absolutely perfect for me, like height wise and size wise. But a lot of people prefer longer workbenches because maybe they're building bigger pieces of furniture. I don't build a lot of big pieces, so it suits me very well.
My workbench is well far from anything like you have. That thing is beautiful, but it's a very simple workbench, and it's really long. But I use my workbench as a an off outfeed table for my table saw, along with on one end is a small mini bench that I brought up for cutting dovetails and carving on and stuff, and then the other side. So it's big enough to do more than one thing at once on it. Otherwise, I'd be stuck.
You can double duty with that. That it's
Hmm.
I have a thing about like workbenches, as we all do. Like
Oh yeah.
love workbenches. Love mini portable workbenches. It's like this weird obsession I have. Did you make yours?
Did I make mine? Yes, I did. It's a very simple frame. Some mortise and tenon on the bottom, and then a few pocket screws because the top is completely replaceable. It's just two sheets of 3/4 inch plywood pocket screwed to the top. So anytime I
Yeah,
want, I can just flip it.
yeah, that's a great idea. Absolutely. Extend the life of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And 3/4 inch plywood is real cheap to
Yeah.
replace when I get too much stain and glue on it.
Sure. Nothing wrong with that. Flat surface is all you need.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you do a lot of carving, and I think the carving that I have seen on your site and several other places is just beautiful. And my question that I have is, if somebody was going to start in to learn some of the carving, how would you tell somebody to go about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have people emailing me on occasion. Now, I must say, I am very much I would say, a beginning carver. I haven't done that much carving, but it's really fun. And once you get into it, it just sort of starts to make sense. So once you have the basics down, then it's just a matter of, I think, more practice, and then you'll get quicker and more skillful with the whole thing. But I took a letter carving class, and that really paved the way for everything else for me. Once I understood how to read the grain direction, how to carve downhill,
Hmm.
then everything started to make sense. And then I took a chip carving class, and then I've taught myself relief carving. But I guess it would depend on what kind of carving you wanted to get into. Do you have a sense of what you'd like to? Or,
I know I've started doing some. Like I took a short class and I carved a fish, and it looked like a fish, so I was happy. The thing that I want to do is I've been trying, and mainly out of books, and I think maybe a class might help, is the chip carving part of it. It seemed the little bit when I have a success at trying it, it's so rewarding to like, look, it looks like what I wanted it to.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's one I want to try doing more of, and in trying to incorporate that into some of the projects that I have. And it's right now the books that I've been looking at are I've seen a few videos, and those have been more helpful than just the books because you can read about it and you see it once and you're like, oh, click, okay, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
definitely. I'm a visual learner as well.
Mhm.
I did a little chip carving video. I think I sent you a link. I can't remember if I did or not. It's just for beginners, and it just goes over some of the basics of chip carving. But I took a class with Wayne Barton, and he has written two books on chip carving. And as far as I'm concerned, his are the best. So if you wanted to, I think he also has some DVDs, which I have not seen, but I imagine they're very good. He's an excellent teacher, so that would be a good place to start. And if you can take a class, that's a good move. He's an excellent teacher. I don't know, how other people would teach chip carving, but really the key to chip carving is sharpening the knife so that there are no bevels on the side at all. And you want to sharpen the blade all the way to the tip because primarily you're just carving with like the last half of the blade. And so that has to be very, very sharp and no bevels at all that would hang up on your wood and would cause tear out.
Hmm.
So those are the big things. But once you get the hang of it, it's really easy. I think if you're going to start with carving, chip carving is probably the easiest one to start with.
All right,
Uh,
I'll have to check.
yeah.
I'll have to check those resources out. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Hmm.
Well, there's a few questions I have to ask everybody that I talk to, at least the first time I talk to them. So, first one is, what is your favorite tool in the shop?
That's a that's a really hard question.
I know it's,
Um,
it's like which one is your favorite kid kind of thing. It's
yeah,
like I don't know. The rest are gonna hear me.
I have well, I love working with hand planes, so it's probably whichever hand plane is sharp at the moment is my favorite. But I am very fond of my scrub plane. It works a lot like a jack plane, only it has a thinner blade and it hogs huge chunks of wood off of your workpiece. So you can very quickly flatten a board, knock the high spots off, so that it's flat enough to run through your planer or finish up with other hand planes. So I really like that. But I love working with molding planes, and one tool in particular I think doesn't get enough airtime is scratch stock.
Oh
You don't
yeah.
you don't hear about that a lot, but it really opens the doors to creating all like any molding you can come up with, pretty much without it getting too big or anything. But you can go where no router has gone before with
Hmm.
scratch stock. So it's really neat, and it opens the way to more creativity and more refined details in your work. So that's really fun.
And
But
with scratch stock, I have a couple of I'm a saw junkie, so I have a couple of
oh
older saws that were kind of looking like an alligator's nose down in the end. So I made them into panel saws, and I kept those cutoff pieces,
good move.
and they
Yeah.
make amazing scratch stock.
Excellent. Yeah, that's definitely repurpose them. And that's what they used to do, back in early America. They would run their saws down until they couldn't sharpen them anymore, and then they would repurpose them for scratch stock or scrapers.
Mhm.
So that's why there aren't too many 17th century hand saws, that you can find because they've all been used up. So, yeah, put them to work.
All right, and the other question I have to have is, so it may not be what is your least favorite, but what is the nemesis or the least favorite one that right now because you're still working on it, or
Yeah, that's an easy question, and that's my lathe. I just cannot get the hang of it. It's a scary tool for me. There's two tools on the planet I'm afraid of. One is a lathe, and one is a chainsaw. But other than that, I'm like fine with everything. But it's just this weird thing. It's like when I'm using a lathe, it's like I feel like somebody's standing beside me with a balloon and they're ready to pop it. I am so jumpy. So I don't know that I'll ever get the hang of that, but it's good to have one if you want to embellish your furniture with, like turn spindles or something like that, or table legs. So
Mhm.
I think I can probably do that, but I will never turn bowls or anything. I don't have the calm nerves, I think, that are required to work on a lathe. So,
Well, the part I like about the lathe, I have a little MIDI lathe, and the part I like about that is y- if you only have an hour and that's all you've got,
yeah.
you can start to finish one, maybe two projects, depending on what it is, and it's kind of fun. But you're right. I mean, when you're not used to it, you can send something across the room real quick.
Yeah, and that's like that's frightening. I guess you get over it, or some people just aren't bothered by that. I don't know, but yeah, I mean that's the whole reason I got the lathe in the first place was because I thought, hey, I can make Christmas gifts and wine stoppers or ornaments or pens, things like that. So the mini lathes are really handy to have around. So yeah, do you turn bowls and
I
bigger pieces
I
or?
turned it's a MIDI, so I only have about I think it's the older one, so it's 5.5 inches from the center to the bed, so I can't get too big, but
Hmm.
I've made bowls about as big as the lathe can handle, and I'm working on learning hollow vessel stuff. Not very successfully yet, but it's starting to get there.
Good, that's great. That's great.
A friend of mine actually picked up a lathe, and he started doing stuff with they're the easy tools
Oh,
instead of the like I have all the old traditional tools and you grind the bevel and everything else, and his is what they call an easy tool, and it's basically a carbide tip and you turn it for another sharp end, and there isn't an angle or anything. You're coming straight on because it's almost like a scraper,
oh.
and he loves them because he hardly ever has a catch because you're dead on, and if it catches it just pushes your tool down, and I'm like, oh, mine's an awful lot more work than
I'm
that.
gonna write that down. That sounds like something I might want to get. It's
Yeah,
called Easy Tools.
easy
Easy Tools.
tools. Yep.
Easy Tools. I like that. That's for people like me.
Yeah,
So,
well, and it's a great way to start. He started with those. I think he has a couple of traditional tools now, but he still goes back to the Easy Tool Rougher and the Detailer all the time. And he says they're a breeze to learn compared to the other ones. And then it kind of was a gateway into those other ones. But be careful; it's a very addictive tool once you start using it.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Oh, that's great. I'll have to look into that. So I might no longer have a nemesis tool after
Oh,
this.
there
Yeah.
you go.
You may have solved my problem. Thank you.
Just the chainsaw be left, right?
Oh, right. I forgot about that one. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that one.
Well, the last question that I got to make sure I ask everybody is, how did you get into woodworking?
Yeah, that's everybody has a story. It sounds like you started really young. You had people around you
Hmm.
who were able to teach you. And that's really awesome. I don't have anyone in my family who's into woodworking. And when I moved into my house in 1992, there is still an old workbench in the basement, and at the time I couldn't really afford to furnish my house, and just the thought popped into my head that hey, maybe I can build something for the house. So I bought a book on woodworking, and it was like the light bulb went off. I was immediately attracted to woodworking. I had never thought about it before. So it's really all due to that workbench in the basement that got me started. And so, I just started building, little tiny boxes I tacked together with nails, and it was just so much fun to be able to build something that you could use. And so I just kept going on and on. I think my first tool that I bought was probably a scroll saw. And then I think I got a router after that. And then I had to really save up to buy my table saw, which was a Sears Craftsman contractor saw. And I carried a photo of it in my purse for a whole year. And seriously. And I would take it out and look at it and think about all the things I'm going to build with it. So, it was really exciting. I mean, we all probably remember how it was when we first started into woodworking, and it's still exciting, but it's like I was completely consumed. And so I just started reading everything I could about woodworking and trying, basic projects and just building my skills. And of course, at that time, I'd pick up fine woodworking. I'd be like, what are they talking about? What is a dadu? And so it took me a little while, but I've just been building on it for 20 years, and still going at it. So
Every once in a while, I still pick up that the fine woodworking and go, "What in the heck is that?"
yep. Yeah, so I just keep going. We'll see where it goes. I don't really have any plans. I just sort of go with it. I'm not sure where my blog's going at this point. I'm just sort of taking a little break, and then come back, and we'll see what kind of projects I want to work on. But I don't don't really have any plans right now, so we'll just see how it goes. But
Well, we look forward to whatever you come out with next. I mean, the Village Carpenter is a great site, and we hope we see a few more things on the YouTube site and some of those videos you're talking about too.
thank you for having me on your show.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks a lot.
You okay? Bye.
Bye.